Oh shit! I gotta get. And we barely finished that one.
Indeed. All right, we're heading live. Okay, let's see if you're showing up. You're not. There you are. You're showing up. Does that make a difference where I move you? No, I can leave you open like that, and you're fine.
I'm fine.
All right. Hey, we're live. Cool. Oh, I guess I probably should actually adjust the Skype window to show you better, because that's a thing I forgot to do. Sorry, folks. Just adjusting it to make Joe look better from previous weeks. Oh,
There's no hope for me. It's okay.
gosh. Wait. Almost adjusted perfectly. And we're back in action. Hurrah! Wow. I missed the fact that I needed to do that. Completely and utterly. Look at me. Alright, folks. Sorry about that little mess around there. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop for the week. Let me adjust my own camera here a little bit to focus on me better. Cool. Excellent. So, we have an interesting set of topics for this week that you can join in the discussion if you want, in chat, of course. Or we will always take questions at our email. I'll give it at the end of the day. For now, if you want to just leave it in chat, a question that we wanted to discuss or topic, go ahead. But our topics on the agenda for today, of course, we're talking about the new Ranger and Rogue archetypes for Unearthed Arcana. We're going to be talking about healing and unusual classes from the Pathfinder Healer's Handbook. We'll be talking about a new RPG system that went through, it looks like it went through Kickstarter and is now out in actual PDF form if you want to buy it, Olympus Incorporated. We're going to talk about a little bit about the Force and Destiny Star Wars RPG system, that they have a new book out that makes me think of some interesting things to talk about with that. And of course, we have the Omens and Ice expansion for Elder Sign is been announced. We want to talk a little bit about that. And then we have, of course, our, as usual, stories from the table and gaming sage advice. So let's, of course, start with the top of our list. As usual, I am your host, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire. And we have, of course, Joe, my usual guest.
Hello.
Anyway, so today, let's start off with the Ranger and the Rogue and Unearthed Arcana. So, they presented two new Ranger archetypes and a Rogue archetype. So for the Ranger archetypes, they have the Horizon Walker, which is about guarding from threats that originate from other planes. They go out like after planar portals, watch over them, venture into the outer planes if need be to eliminate threats which are threatening the material plane. We have the Primeval Guardian, which is like combining Ranger and Druidic abilities together in an interesting way. And then for the Rogue archetype, we have the Scout, which is all about, traveling out into the wild and stealth and normal roguey stuff, but it does have this kind of connection to nature in and of itself that also seems to mimic a lot of the other ones.
My question with the Scout is, can I be my future ancestor?
Only if your name is Lauren
Crawford.
Lauren Crawford, yeah. And you have 2 crossbows.
Pew pew.
Mm-hmm. So, let's start off with the Horizon Walker. This is different from the Horizon Walker I knew about from previous editions and stuff like that.
Yeah, like 3.0 and 3.5, I think, had it too, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember them being like planar. I always thought them as being more
They were more knowledge-based.
more like they knew about a lot of different terrains. I thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. They were more terrains and knowledge. This one actually goes into doing some minor planar stuff, like getting through damage resistance.
Knowing about portals, going ethereal.
Being able to transport through the play, basically like 10 feet through a plane, basically to skip around, and you can kind of dimensional into a planar boundary to take less damage eventually.
Yes, and you get some apparently teleportation ability at 11th level, which really seems cool.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You kind of transport through a plane shift kind of thing to appear somewhere else.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, they talk about their flavor of seeking out planar things and sort of going against them, but except for the ignoring damage resistance, I don't see it as much.
Yeah, it's just the only thing they get is ignore the damage resistance and being able to do it once a turn, being able to do an extra d6 of force damage.
I mean, the portal lore, where you can sort of detect planar portals.
Well, actually, if you look at their spells, though, you got protection from evil and good.
Yes, which is very good for any kind of planar things.
Protection from energy.
Mm-hmm.
And banishment.
The banishment, though, I can see other uses of it, though, rather than just going after portals and stuff. It is, though, very much so anti-planar creatures.
Right, but I'm saying those add to the planar part. Yes. But it is kind of a slightly weak premise on you're going after planar creatures, but you're not getting a lot of things that are specifically...
Yeah, as I said, the planar lore seems to be the most one about it, where you could be like, oh, there's a portal over there, kind of thing, It's like, I recognize that. It's like, okay, I mean, you can go ethereal, but there are other things that can give you ethereal, which is pretty cool.
There's spells that can give you that.
Yes, which are actually really useful also.
Yeah.
And the two higher level abilities, the Distance Strike and Spectral Defense, they're just cool abilities, I think.
Yeah, they're explaining it through planar ways, but you could do the same abilities without the planar language, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is an unusual sort of... I get the flavor they wanted, but I don't detect the flavor as much as we would hope it to be there with this one. I think that's... Right,
but the only thing thing is, remember, these are art set in stone. They are, test things, so, they've done an amazing job so far. If they have one that's a little off, it's understandable. Again, it's tests, so they can still change things on it to make it more what they're looking for.
It's true. When they would actually publish something that would be related to it.
Moving over to Primeval Guardian, though, you become a treant. It seems.
Yeah, you sort of transform into a tree person. I mean, you get some more nature-based magic.
You can become large. Your speed goes down to 5 feet. Unless it was lower. Gain a 5 feet reach. And if you have lower than 5 feet speed, I'm sorry, you should not be a playable character.
Well, something could have changed you into having that. It's actually more that you're an actual tree rather than a tree-int, though, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, you get some interesting abilities. You have the piercing thorns. You can do an extra d6 of piercing damage.
Your form gets better. You get more. You get difficult terrain around you. You get more hit points, and
the hit point stuff that you get from Ancient Fortitude, and I think you also get something with. Oh, you can give hit points with Guardian Aura
to your allies. Yeah.
To your allies, yeah. And then wasn't there something?
Well, the rooted defense is the difficult terrain for your enemies.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and your natural thing, starting at 3rd level with your Guardian Soul, you get temporary hit points. That's the other one.
Ah.
Because you gain number of temporary hit points at the start of each of your turns, which is really nice. And the number equals half your Ranger level.
See, the thing about this is I see it more a very defensive-minded set of abilities. Because effectively you, like...
Yeah, it would be more of for, like, a siege campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to defend an area. It really wouldn't be as useful if you're going out and attacking things, because, especially just with the speed encumbrance.
I could still see it being useful, though. Because the thing is, like, it's a bonus action to assume Guardian form, and it lasts till the end... lasts until you end it as a bonus action, and the thing is, you can just do it.
True. I mean, it can be useful, but again, it's not. You definitely aren't going to use it for a chase scene or anything like that.
Oh no. It's more like you're in a battle, and it's a place where you're not going to change the location. You basically like plant yourself, set things up, and basically may or may not, have bonuses from your allies. But basically, you're a tree shifter.
Yes. Tree shifter.
And I mean, I see some good advantages for it. It is a very combat-heavy thing, because you do get, like, the extra damages, the temporary hit points, the bonus hit points, making things difficult terrain.
And the spells are interesting. I mean, you get a Tangle, which that makes sense easily.
Yeah.
Enhance ability, kind of weird, but sure. Conjure animals.
Giant insect. And insect plague. Yeah, those aren't a bad selection of spells either. So it's definitely a pretty good sort of combination of abilities. And it's sort of...
Just don't summon any termites.
Yeah, really. I like the idea of it more than I know if it would be particularly useful is the problem. I'm not sure. Just because of the nature of it.
It's a very specified template.
Yeah. I can see it working in certain campaigns, but not all of them is the thing. And Fortunately, I can see it working in like a dungeon crawl. As long as the hallways can take large creatures, I mean, I could perfectly see it working in a dungeon crawl.
Yeah. But it is like strangely specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely seems more Druish than Ranger.
I think that's the point of it. It's supposed to feel like you're connecting up with like druidic magic almost. That you're somewhere in between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that I think would be cool to try, but I don't know if I just necessarily would try. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, but I don't know if I'd really play it.
Yes.
And then we got Scout, which
you're
pretty much either Robin Hood or one of his merry men.
I mean, that's a nice way of describing it, but I always liked it as like, they're the scouts of an army or something. I always like to think about it that way.
Yeah, I'm just saying with how the abilities are, it's not the same as your old Scout.
That's true, because that one was always like you had the skirmish abilities, which they sort of do have a skirmish.
But it's a bit different. You see, you move up to half your speed as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you. And it doesn't provoke attack of opportunities. It used to be that you moved within, you had to at least 5. Yeah,
you had to move at least 10 feet, and you do sneak attack damage.
Right.
Well, I think it's because it's technically, in quotations, easier to do sneak attack damage than it was before.
True.
I mean, you just have to have an ally. You don't need to be adjacent to the ally anymore. I could have a friend next to it, and I could throw something and get a sneak attack damage instead. I could use range that way and get sneak attack. I just need one person threatening them, which that actually is a lot easier to happen rather than me, I've got to flank with them of like the old days.
Right. No, and I do understand it. That's why I'm saying it's different than the old one. And with like the survivalist, you gain proficiency in nature and survival skills. Your proficiency is doubled for any ability check you make in either of those proficiencies. You get to move more. You get more speed at 9th level. You get 10 more feet. Ambush master. You're really good at setting up ambushes.
Yeah, I mean that one's like. It seems.
That's why I'm saying Robin Hood with it a bit.
I mean,
because
the ambush master is a cool ability because you are good at setting them up, but
you have to know the enemy's coming.
You have to be able to set up the ambush, which I think is like. It doesn't happen very often for PCs, as I have always seen it. Not that it can't
normally
happen.
it happens more for enemies because you're normally going storming into enemy territory. You're not normally defending your territory from enemies.
I mean, granted, it does give some cool bonuses to your allies, like the 10 initiative and the bonus speed for the first turn. Those are really cool. But
it's +5 bonus initiative.
Yeah, +5. That lasts until the end of combat. You're like, well, we started this combat. Hey, everybody gets +5. That's huge.
Yeah,
actually.
and then 10 foot more speed. That's really great too.
Granted, the 10 foot's only for that like end of the allies next turn, but still, that means that first turn.
That first turn, yeah, you can. It's really easy to get in good positions that you want to be in.
Now,
and then sudden strike.
That I like a lot because it's like. If you're making any attack action, you get a bonus attack that's automatically a sneak attack, or you get the benefit of sneak attack if you
already used it this turn.
Yeah, which means that you could
sneak. The attack is the only one you make against the target this turn.
Wait, if you take the attack action turn, you can make one additional attack as a bonus. This attack can benefit from your snack attack even if you've already used it this turn, but only if you make one. If it's the only attack you make against the target, so you could sneak attack 2 different targets in one turn. Oh, okay.
But not the same one twice.
Okay, so basically, like you could run up and like be attacking between 2 guys and sneak attack the one, and then you could make a sneak attack on the other dude too.
Right.
Okay, that's still pretty good, and it is an extra attack you can get as a bonus action, which is actually really good.
Yeah, it's an extra attack, and it can be a sneak attack.
Yeah, because up until now. Like, only fighter really got more than 2 attacks. So this is technically, like, a very easy 3rd attack you can get as a rogue.
Yeah.
Granted, it's 17th level, but still. I mean, that can make all the difference in the system, how it works.
Oh, yeah, especially for 5th edition, because you don't get those... A lot of attacks like you did in previous editions. Normally, your number of attacks, scaled up with you.
And it's going to be based around a lot of little attacks. The combat almost feels like it oftentimes is. So, like, one extra attack is going to be a big influential thing in the entire system of it.
Oh, agreed.
So, yeah, I think the Scout is interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel like it is very Robin Hoody. Very, very, like, I'm scouting out the woods.
Yeah.
So, I find it interesting, and I'm just not sure if it's how useful it is. Like, out of these
all 3 are really interesting, but none of them are overly
versatile.
Like, ooh, I really want that.
Yeah,
the only one would maybe the Horizon Walker is the most universal. Ooh, excuse me, universal.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you remove the planar lore. Removing resistances, it's against any kind of creature.
Yeah, ethereal step, distance strike, spectral defense. All of those are really useful.
And even the planar magic comes up. Protection from good and evil. It can come up on non-planar things. Banishment. Oh, someone that might summon stuff.
Alter self.
Protection from energy. The teleportation circle is really good too.
Yeah, those are like I said, that one seems to be the most universal out of all of them. It doesn't have to be against planar people. You could use those against anyone. So with that one, that would be the one out of the 3 that I'd be more interested in trying.
Yeah.
Because that one's more, like I said, universal. You can do it. You can use it in almost any situation, where the other ones are a lot more situational.
I think it would be interesting to try the Primeval Guardian, because that Guardian Soul, managing when you're transforming between it, I think that would be an interesting aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that one's not a bad one. It's just, like I said, it's not as applicable in every situation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would put that as number 2 for me, and number 3 would, out of the 3,
The
the rogue
scout.
one would be the lowest on it, just
Yeah.
because that one, to really use it, it would be more of a defense of an area.
Yeah, because then you can get ambushes and stuff. And
That's what really makes him shine, is those ambushes. I mean, yes, getting the sudden strike at 17th level is good. The skirmisher part, it's okay.
you can keep away from... If you're ranged, it's really helpful.
Yeah, if you're a ranged person, then that's really... It can be useful. And superior mobility, well, who can't use an extra 10 feet of speed?
Yeah. I mean...
And it goes for any speed that you might have. Climbing, swimming, flying.
Yeah. I think, like, it does pertain itself to being a very Robin Hood-like character using a bow and arrow or something, and it definitely does, especially with the skirmisher ability, because you just be like, I move away from you if you move up to me. And it doesn't provoke attack of opportunity, so that's wonderful. I mean, it's sort of like you can easily just keep yourself away from the combat and don't have to worry about getting disadvantage when fighting with a bow. And I can see being an elven scout and getting and the one that gets the longbow, and then you're like, well, now I'm just deadly.
Yeah. Now I can zip around the battlefield, keeping my distance from enemies, and shooting the heck out of everything.
Yeah. So, I mean...
You add that with maybe a few levels of fighter to get some extra attacks?
Well, yeah, if you want to try to get that multi-tack one. But, I mean... I do see it very, very interesting, ideal. But again, yes, it does cut off this one major ability with the Ambush Master being very difficult unless you're in, like, your home turf defending it.
Yeah.
Oh. So, yeah, I think they're all very interesting. As for playing them, again, I agree with you that I feel like the Horizon Walker is probably the better one.
Yes.
You can get these subclasses whether you make one extra addition. Give each subclass an extra attack class feature. Wait, use these subclasses with it if you make one... Okay, if you're playtesting the Unearthed Arcana Ranger, you can give the... Oh. Remember they came out with an alternate version of the base Ranger?
Right.
It says you could use these if you add extra attack into them.
Okay.
At 5th level. Oh, because I think in the Unearthed Arcana Ranger, they did special things for extra attack and put it into the, like, archetypes.
Right, they did. That's
okay.
Cool.
Okay, so they do account for using that if you're trying that one.
Cool. I'm going to excuse myself for just a moment. I'm sorry to do that.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue it. I will rejoin you in a moment.
Okay, sounds fine. Yes, understandable. All right, so I think we should probably begin to move on from the Unearthed Arcana Ranger, because, I mean, this is definitely a very interesting one. And as we said, we both like the Horizon Walker the most. I don't know if I like the Scout or Primeval Guardian more, or if I'm tied with Joe's opinion there. It's hard to say. But regardless, they're interesting ones to check out. And so I think we both recommend, if you want to use one of them, talk to your GM, or if you're a GM, DM / let people try it out, because they look really cool. So why don't we move on from here and talk a little bit about the Pathfinder Healer's Handbook. Now, I will jump more into depth with it when Joe returns, but for now, why don't I just introduce you to it? So, Pathfinder's released some more books. This one is all about being a healer. Because, I mean, they said it perfectly. Every adventurer needs a healer. Some can heal on their own, some have to rely on someone else to heal them. It allows for more efficient ways to heal people. As I like the quote that they have, that it's like you're not trying to be the walking band-aid, effectively, the walking first aid kit, which is a problem that some healers actually face in games, that they end up being effectively like a walking band-aid, helping everyone out, and the situation is kind of sucks that that's going into that. then you don't want to be the walking band-aid. You want to be a character that has healing, but that's not your main focus. So it gives archetypes for classes, which is cool. It gives 10 of them, from like a paladin, which is based around healing, to a cleric. These are the normal ones. Bard gives their bonuses, but it also gives, because bards can do arcane healing, you know, they get cure light spells, but they give more options for those, for the bard, and for a type of wizard, the arcane physician, that, hey, look what I can do. I can heal then. Where is D20 PSFRD? Let's see if they showed up in those yet. If they've showed up on the PSFRD, because I haven't checked if any of these showed up, because they usually might be a little time off from them before they would show up. Yeah, I mean, the healing is very useful, because I know that for wizards, you could theoretically get some healing previously. It was possible. It wasn't easy, but you could, because I can't remember the exact prestige class, but there's a prestige class where you can mix in divine spells and make them arcane. So, and like one of my players in one of my games actually had taken that. So I could see that being an option, that you could have the person with one of those. Okay, now the arcane physician has not showed up on the D20 PSFRD yet, unfortunately, so I can't look into the exact details of it, because the book's only been out in a week and I have been unable to purchase it, of course. Anyway, but the prestige class, it's a prestige class. You have to take that, and it has its I think it's like collegiate mage or something, and it had its own disadvantages and advantages for taking it. I mean, that's the entire point of it, is that when you're taking a prestige class, it changes things, and you're not taking the main class in the wizard, not in the main class of what you want to take. So you already have gotten to a point in time with that, which it gave you the option before, which was cool. It gave you the option, and actually I think it was druid spells that the person was learning, technically, which is like, okay, druid spells are cool. But I mean, collegiate arcanist, there it is. And yeah, you got levels of spellcasting each day, but you didn't get into the other abilities of a wizard or whatever arcane class you have. And yeah, okay, I'm adding druid spells in, but that's why I like this idea of a archetype better, because it's still changing it, but without relying on qualifying for something, or, you know, having to specifically go into a way of doing things. Because that's one of those things about prestige classes, is they're very focused on the way that they work and the way that they think about things. Welcome back. We were just talking about the Healer's Handbook a little bit, and I was discussing the concepts of the arcane physician. It's not on the web, the D20 PSFRD yet, unfortunately. So
yeah, they make a small mention, I saw, but not much.
Yeah, they're not directly in there. But I was talking about, like, comparing it to something like they had the Collegiate Arcanist Prestige class, which was a arcane spellcasting prestige class you could have before, which you needed spell mastery for, that's actually, you know, it is wizard based, and it's like, it's a feat that you don't necessarily need to take, or the scholar feat. I mean, the scholar just gives bonuses to knowledges in order to qualify for doing the same thing that an archetype will now effectively do. So the archetype seems a lot better, and before you were able to take druid spells. You didn't actually have to take healing spells. It's just you could take druid spells and add them to your arcane spellcasting class list. That was it. So you could take cure spells. You didn't need to, but you could. And I think this one is more, yeah, you can heal.
Right.
And I do like that there's feats geared towards healing a lot, that you don't have to be more of, as they said, the walking first aid kit, or feats that allow you, I guess, to heal yourself during battle, which seems like a cool idea. And some new other materials, more Paladin Mercies, Shaman Spirits, things like that, Blessings for War Priests, more options for a lot of those classes that deal with healing, that I'm guessing they pertain to healing more. Because the thing is, like, healing is such an important part of the entire thing.
Yes.
Well, what's your opinion on this, as I've been blabbing on a little bit?
I mean, it seems interesting. It definitely seems worth a look. I'd have to really look over what you're getting, all the details of it to give a full opinion, but I would check it out. I'd definitely at least stop by like our local gaming store and like check out the book before I get it. Yeah. Just look at the basics and see if it's fully something that I want to get. I mean, you could there's 10 different classes, which is nice.
Yeah, the archetype's definitely nice that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd have to really look over it to, unfortunately, give a full opinion on that.
I mean, I've given pretty much the best idea about it, is that
right.
it helps out 10 classes, which it sounds like the majority of them already either had some healing or something. And I think the big one, of course, is our arcane wizard that heals people, which we're not sure exactly how that works, unfortunately, because we don't have the book. It's been a week.
Yeah.
It hasn't been out very long, and no one has any information on it yet online. Well, maybe I actually can...
Yeah, I mean, being able to be a wizard and doing a lot of the healing, you're getting rid of, you don't have to have, your a healer specifically in the party then.
Yeah, and actually that's really nice.
Yeah, because not everyone wants. You don't always have people who really want to do, the traditional cleric, but sometimes people feel forced into like, oh, I guess it's everything else. No one else is it. I'll do it.
And the thing is, they as they said, they wanted to use this book to make people be better healers without feeling like the walking band-aid of the group.
Right.
Which I guess is like one of those problems. Is like, yeah, people unfortunately get into that situation where they're sort of forced into that, where the people are like, well, you're the healer, start healing.
Yeah, because some people just, you want a good party balance, and if you're that type of person who's like, well, I guess I'll play a healer just so we have someone who can do it.
Yeah.
So we're not spending all our money on potions and scrolls.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately...
Or wands.
Well, the wands is never really bad. Like, a wand of Cure Light, especially at low levels, isn't a bad idea for a group. And then you could even have, like, a couple of people that could possibly use it in healing up the group as the major healing source. It's not the most efficient one, but it works.
Right, because eventually you got to replace it.
And the fact is you spent money in the first place on it, but for like $750 for 50 charges of 1d8 plus 1 isn't bad. No,
it's not a bad thing, but
there can be better.
When you have someone who can do free healing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's something.
Especially at low levels, 750 gold's a decent chunk.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a battle-heavy campaign, 50 charges is nice, but that can go away quickly.
Then you have to worry about getting another wand or something else.
Right. Where when you have someone who can cast healing, it's like, okay, you're out of spells. Well, I guess we're going to try to find a place to rest so you can heal us again.
Yeah.
Which normally is a lot easier than trying to find a town that has, a specific item that you need.
Again, though, that gets into the argument of the walking band-aid a little bit too much, and I understand that. But
well, I'm saying that's what's nice about what they're doing now, so you don't have to be the walking band-aid.
Yeah.
It's like you could have a couple of characters in your group who can dabble with healing to make up for instead of having one major one.
Yeah, true. No, I definitely understand. It's an interesting concept, and I'm hoping it does the job of helping out those folks, the healers, so to say.
Right.
All right, why don't we move on from there, since we did get a little discussion on that, and I managed to grab you from that. Let's talk about some of these RPGs. How about we start with Olympus Incorporated? That's an interesting one. So it's a new RPG that's out. It was kickstarted, apparently successfully, and the actual PDF is being sold now, so you can buy it. And it's all about modern-day demigods and mythical creatures in the shadow of the real world. And it's trying to combine a little bit of cyberpunk, modern espionage, urban fantasy together. Again, I've only looked at a bit of information about it. I don't have the entire, book in front of me. Only what, the little video they talked about, the Kickstarter, some information on it. It seems very interesting. As a concept. And this is one of those things that it's modern day fantasy. Because we've talked about, you've got futuristic fantasies too. With, Shadowrun and... I wouldn't call cyberpunk that, but it's a different kind of fantasy though too, because I would say modern day fantasy. I could talk about D20 Modern, but that's very D&D. This is Greek fantasy, which is a different type entirely. So this is a really interesting niche, I think, too. That you sort of awaken as a demigod, and then you're getting into this conflict of Greek mythology of the gods versus the titans and things like that, and secret monsters and all this other stuff going on the low side that people don't really know about.
Yeah, it's definitely going into a new genre it seems really interesting.
Yeah, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Other than just interesting. That's unfortunately the word that's coming to mind that's the easiest to describe it. Interesting. Yeah.
It's also, it's something different than what a lot of what it's out there.
That's true. And if we compare it to other modern fantasy things, which I think World of Darkness is what I would call a modern fantasy. World of Darkness takes a hint at similar things, but has this very European Western feel. It's vampires, werewolves, mages, of the like. Sometimes it takes on a Middle Eastern feel for things like Mummy. I think the Demon takes on a little bit of Middle Eastern too. More ancient Middle Eastern, of course, too, like Egyptian and things like that. But only some of them hint at Greek stuff. It's sort of I've been talking about some of the clans and vampires, and I'm oh, they've got some history in ancient Greece. Okay. That's okay. While this is you're a demigod in a modern day. Where there's apparently 12, and the thing is, it's a little bit of Shadowrun too in there, because they've got 12 massive corporations that effectively are controlling the world. And effectively the governments. So they are taking a little bit of that cyberpunk in there, but I'm going to be interested to see the exact details of its storyline. That actually interests me, because is it going to be near future, alternate world future, or a little farther in the future than it makes it out seeming to be? Maybe 10 years from now. Because then it's going to be pretty much the same, but with little differences. They're saying it's more of a modern day take, which means I'm assuming it's very close to us, but probably more of an alternate world, especially with 12 corporations controlling the world kind of thing that they're talking about. Let's see if I can find some more information about it. Yeah, there just isn't a lot of
Yeah, and it looks like, unfortunately, on Indiegogo and on Kickstarter, both campaigns are suspended right now.
Well, apparently they were somehow successful. So I'm assuming what might have happened is they had their campaign and a publisher picked them up.
Yeah.
Someone like it looks like
No, I'm just saying it's a shame because as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I would have done at least the $15 one,
yeah,
which you at least get the PDF copy.
yeah.
Probably would have went for the 25, which you get the PDF, stretch goals, in addition to publisher products.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, on both sites, they are no longer raising.
Yeah. So, just from the basic information that they presented on the sites, though, it looks like they focused on, because you're a demigod, you're descended from, like, one of 6 of the major Olympian deities in the pantheon, and you have powers revolving around that, which is kind of cool. Plus, they also have some demi-human options, which is, like, Minotaur and Satyr, which is also kind of cool.
Yeah, and the artwork looks really interesting, too.
And they hope to put out others and along the line of it, you know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really wish I would have known about it when it was still going on.
Yeah, the Indiegogo didn't go. But the Kickstarter was suspended too, or it looks like
The Kickstarter, it looks like it says funding suspended. Project was successful. Funding was for this project was suspended by Kickstarter on February 12th. They probably ran out of their time.
that's
But they had 192 backers on Kickstarter, and they made 8,396. So they're only they're only like $104 off their goal on Kickstarter.
that's unusual about what happened. And what happened with the backing too.
It was 96% funded.
They relaunched on Indiegogo apparently.
Yeah.
According to
Oh, this was the Kickstarter campaign was back last year in February.
yeah.
So they probably ran out of time on that one.
Yeah. They relaunched on Indiegogo, which they had that, and they released a PDF of Olympus. It's been a long journey, but we are happy that we produced. So on the 10th of this year, they did talk about that on their Kickstarter. But yeah, the Indiegogo closed out before it ended. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that was 8 months ago.
So the
Oh,
question,
1 month ago was the last time they did an update. Was just wanted everyone to know that we have released the PDF of the full Olympics Inc. setting book. Thanks to everyone that supported the campaign. But it's really weird because it says it raised 4,325 on Indiegogo with 0 backers.
yeah, that's unusual. Something weird happened in the creation of this RPG. And it's intriguing us more than the RPG. The story of its creation is actually really interesting because like 8 months ago they talked about the fact that they are moving forward with the project, and I'm assuming this is post Indiegogo. You know, that they have this update.
On Drive Through RPG, you could buy the PDF for $20.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's the 16th. Like, I mean, though they're definitely. It's like I want to learn more about this now, about what the heck happened. I don't know if we actually will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some discussions on Drive Through RPG,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm seeing complaints about a lot of typos in the books.
Oh. Huh.
And also, there's a perform skill that's mentioned with the Satyr background, but is not fully explained in skills.
So there are problems with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. It looks like, though, I do see like people enjoying it though too. A couple people are talking about like someone got to try playing it and it's really cool. But it also does look like there are problems with the book in and of itself, because I'm assuming whatever was going on with the funding, they were able to get it out, but probably not as good proofreaders as, let's say, because you can find typos in anything or mistakes in anything. I get the feeling that they need some kind of errata. They need something, and they need it soon. If they had some kind of errata, that might be able to help them too, especially if like the Seder background has some problems.
Well, I saw that they did mention back to the person who was saying that. They said that they appreciate it, and I'll get that corrected. We should push out a corrected file in the next day or two to correct typos and other little issues.
That was the 27th of December, so they might have already updated a lot of those problems, because this was PDF format. Apparently, they don't have a printed version, as far as we know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like... I'm not seeing it anywhere at the very least.
I don't think they're going to have it at this point in time because of what seemed to have been a lot of the problems with its publishing.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if it's going to be supported more. And I mean, granted, that doesn't mean it still can't be used, because there are plenty of RPGs that have had one book. Yeah. And are perfectly fine to play. You know...
And they're updating... It seems they're still working on the PDF and trying to fix problems, so...
Yeah, so...
It may never be a hard book, but maybe just a PDF game that you buy for $20, which it seems interesting enough. I'd spend $20 to try out the game.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, like, you know, granted, I think, you know, only one of us in the group might get it. But, like, if one of us would spend $20 to get the game, you know, we could check it out.
Yeah, it's a PDF. We print it out. Whoever wants to run it can run it.
Yep. It seems very interesting. You know, I agree. It does seem to be very creative. And I do like, from what I've been reading about it, just this little bit, the idea that, you know, like, okay, so several edges and hindrance. It seems like, you know, you've got the 6 Olympian, like, gods, like we were talking about, but they're also apparently control corporations. So you're demigods of certain bloodlines. And the god you're of the bloodline apparently controls a corporation or something? I mean, really? It's kind of weird. I guess that makes sense, because Olympus Incorporated. Yeah. That in the modern day, they've sort of moved into corporations.
Well, is it everyone?
Apparently. It's
kind of makes me think a little bit about like the superhero game that we ran with gods.
Oh yeah, we did we did the aberrant game system, but we replaced superheroes with deities of old, which the system worked perfectly for doing that. It was kind of weird, but it was interesting.
Yeah, and we were trying to update ourselves to gain new followers in a world that superheroes exist.
Yeah, no. I mean, it definitely is very interesting RPG system that seems really cool to check out. Different than a lot of the stuff we've been doing, which is what I like about it, you know?
Yeah. No, it's always nice to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah. All right, why don't we move on, though? I do want to talk about... I only know a little bit about the system of Star Wars Force and Destiny. I've only seen a little bit on it. I know some of the basics of it. Don't ask me to go deep into the rules right now. It's one of those ones I'd have to really learn a lot more on in order to learn it. But I know traditionally the Force and Destiny series, which is sort of the latest Star Wars RPG. If you didn't know, like, there was a Star Wars RPG based upon the 3rd edition of Dungeons & Dragons. There's definitely been a lot of other ones. This one is, you know, you're trying to survive under Imperial rule. It normally, like, the Jedi have fallen, of course. You know, it's the Empire. But the idea is that all the characters are to a degree Force sensitive, I think is what you're supposed to be. You know, it's supposed to be like... there's a level of, like, random destiny chance in the game system from what I've seen. Where, like, you have you can get bonuses from the light side and the dark side of the course, and sometimes it reflects in your dice rolls. And you also like roll at the beginning of each session that there's a certain number of like light side bonus points and dark side bonus points that your team can use the light side to an advantage, and the GM can use the dark side to his advantage, effectively. So it's an interesting sort of thing with these kind of combinations. So, it's like the Force is out there, but no one's a Jedi, which is a cool thing to do. I mean, I'm guessing there are rules for it in the beyond the core, that probably there's a way you could do like a Jedi character. I'm assuming somewhere they do that, and it's probably really optional. But they've come out with a book called The Disciplines of Harmony, which I thought was really cool, because especially since I saw Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Rogue One. God, I'm forgetting the name of it. Thank you. Rogue One, where I feel like this book reflects Donnie Yen's character, the blind dude, who used the Force in a way without really using the Force. And so it seems so cool, this idea of this, because it adds in like that you get like defensive abilities from your sensitivity to the Force and things like that.
Right.
Because it's like you're not trying to be a Jedi anyway. You're just trying to like gain some abilities along the lines of it seems. But I guess it looks like you could also sort of fill the lines of where they would be. So it is a little bit more like Force yet not Force, interestingly enough. Which is a very interesting idealism for this, because that's a great way of saying it, it does seem very much light side of the Force, which is kind of cool. And learning some different abilities that way. I mean, like the fact is, I never had a chance to play the 3.5 adaptation of Star Wars. I knew some stuff from it, and I encountered some things from it, but I never directly got to play it. And this system, from what I've seen, seems interesting. It seems much different system, which is good, because I mean, when you had the adaptation before, it's a direct adaptation. I mean, that's really what you're doing. Right. Granted, it's not 100% compatible, of course, but I mean, you're compatible enough was the problem. This does seem very interesting, because it also is a lot about the consular, apparently, type of class more than anything. Which is all about, I guess, balance, they claim, or something. I guess it's supposed to be like preservation of life, defensive kind of minded, I guess, class that you can take on.
Right.
What's your opinion on this game system anyway? Because the thing is, I know you're more of a Star Trek guy than a Star Wars, but like me, which I think I'm probably more that way myself, I still like Star Wars a lot. I think it's cool.
I mean, Star Wars has its own, advantages, and it's different enough that you don't have to be like, I only like Star Trek. I can't like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely interesting. When you talk about Force powers and stuff, if you want to make relate it, you kind of relate it to the D&D. What is it? Psychic or the mental
psionics.
Thank you. I couldn't think. Kind of like psionics thing in a different way. So I could see trying it and enjoying it. Yeah. Is it something I would jump right into? Maybe if someone was running it, but I wouldn't see it like me searching out a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Game to play.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely has an interesting idea of you know, you they don't want to like dive headlong into everybody's a Jedi, but still have that concept of the Force being there.
Right.
And,
You're in the world. You have, you can tap into it a bit, but you're not fully like entrenched in it.
yeah, and it seems like though this latest product is that they're putting for the consulars, because it looks like the consulars are the ones that dive out of all the other classes the most into it. It sort of sounds like a little bit, because they're sort of on a it sounds like they're the ones that are trying to understand their abilities a little bit more, just from
Right.
like the reading over this a little bit. I don't know if it's hard to say like how much that is exact, but it also looks like they get some like cool items and stuff like that, and it just adds a little bit more actual Force stuff to your campaign if you're using it, because I'm assuming you have the options about how deep you're throwing your characters into it. You have your normal sort of Force destiny that they get at the beginning of each session that they're going to roll anyway. Then the question of how much powers they may or may not have is probably going to be developed by character or by adventure, I'm going to assume.
And I'm assuming they're kind of going along with the Force Awakens, where the Jedi and Sith have kind of gone away again.
Yeah,
because there seems to be an ebb and flow of that in the universe. That sometimes there's the orders, sometimes there's not, and it seems like right now it's back to kind of there's not really a Jedi Force right now. There's not really a Sith Force. There are people who are touched with the abilities, but no one specifically training in it.
Well, it does sound like they're trying to aim for most of people's storylines are going to be set from like episode 6 to episode episode 4 to episode 6.
Right.
So you're going to be like around that time period with like Death Star and Darth Vader is really the big bad villain, And of course, yes, you do have like Luke showing up at some point in time, but it's really like, oh, there's a rebellion going on, there's an empire going on, and your characters might just be somewhere in the middle trying to survive.
Yeah, you might be rebels that are somewhat Force sensitive.
Yeah. Or the thing is, I could see like even being like on the side of the Empire or something. You could be like just the building some of these things together. I can see some very interesting idealisms for games too, because you could be like almost like going more towards the dark side of like mercenaries and stuff. Like it'd be like evil characters in a normal like D&D game.
Yeah, kind of like Boba Fett if he was more Force sensitive.
Yeah. So, and it seems like they have a number of sort of like, what is it? It seems like there's you might be forced into all 3 plague systems across compatible. So apparently there are 3 main systems to the Force and Destiny line that you can choose from: Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and the Direct Force and Destiny. Okay, so there are like 3 main books that all work together using the same mechanic, but I'm guessing each of them focuses a little differently.
Yeah, well, this one might be on just Force sensitive. There might be one for Jedi. There might be one for Sith.
It looks like Age of Rebellion is based more upon the Rebel Alliance. So like, okay. So this one, Force and Destiny, is all about being more Force sensitive characters. So that's what you use if you're going to do that. And since they're compatible, you technically could also have a combination of them. So Age of Rebellion's more you're being in the Rebel.
So you could be a rebel who's Force sensitive.
And Edge of the Empire is more like Han Solo characters. You're smugglers on the edge of on the outer rim, sort of thing.
Okay.
While trying to avoid the Empire's notice. That's kind of interesting that they have these 3 compatible systems that use the exact same dice system. That, depending on which one you either want to run or some kind of combination of them, could make a big difference. And I could see very interesting adventures being between just one of them or all of them. So that's actually really cool. The thing is, like, I only knew a little bit about like the system. I had seen it, and I think I'd seen more on the Edge of the Empire stuff because I've seen some stuff of some people playing like Han Solo type characters. I didn't even think about like there was a difference between these systems.
Right.
There's apparently 3. The more we know. The more we know. I need like one of those like things going across the screen of like the doo doo doo. No, but this seems cool. Again, I don't know how much I would dive into the product myself, just because I got a lot of role-playing games anyway that I'd like to run. But it seems cool.
Yeah.
It does. So, and this does seem to be like a new, interesting concept within those universes that they have for this. That they have specifically a book focusing on this one class. Basically, it's a class book, which just reading about it, it seemed interesting, and I didn't realize it's more focused on this one class and just trying to like balance them out better. And it seems like a very interesting idea, the class of character.
Yeah, it definitely is. But
Okay.
but speaking about having a lot of game ideas you want to run, I think that brings us into the next topic.
Oh, well, we do want to talk a little bit about
Did I
board
miss
game.
something? Oh,
Omens of the
I'm
Deep.
sorry.
I
didn't miss that.
yes, you did. I just want to talk about it a little bit because I do love Elder Sign, and it seems like after like forever, they're starting to finally release some expansions on it. They for a long time were not. They had like I think they got one expansion which added like blessed and cursed dice, and they called it a day for like a year or two. Then they threw out the Streets of Arkham, which was cool, and now in the last year, we have 2. We have the the winter one, which we talked about previously, which name eludes me because myself and forgetting names if it's not in front of my face. And now this one, which has been announced. Yeah, I mean, it's apparently going to be all about traveling in the Pacific. Like the last one, okay, traveling in Alaska, that's kind of cool. Cold. This is like exploring the Pacific and the murky, what lies beneath the deep. So a Pacific adventure deck, new mythos cards, some kind of special entrance cards, some more investigators, and 3 new ancient ones, along with all that other stuff you have. And, so apparently they, based upon the popular Call of the Cthulhu expansion for the Elder Signs Omens app. Huh. So apparently they had an app game for Elder Signs, and they came out with an expansion that actually physically was in existence. They're like, we're just going to get an expansion for this because we can. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we can actually have a board game version of this too.
Ah, okay.
So you board the Ultima Thule to combat the ancient ones that begun to stir in the depths of the Atlanta. That sounds like a weird ship name. Well, there's like apparently like sunken cities or something you're messing with. The lost city of Riley. Okay. Apparently supposed to be underneath the Pacific.
Okay, well that's interesting since I just got when we did our Christmas party, we did our gift exchange, and I got a card game for that for the gift exchange, and I gave to someone. Sydney ended up getting it, which we still have to try, but it's based on that city.
Okay. So it takes place in 2 phases, where you locate some kind of amulet, and then you use the amulet to collect the Elder Signs to seal away the evil that inhabits the sunken city. Okay. That's interesting. That's a little different take, because normally you're looking for the Elder Signs to seal away it, like in the museum.
Right.
I think I think it's the same for the Streets of Arkham. We haven't had a chance to play in Alaska yet.
No.
Even though I got it. but Pacific Adventure cards. They look kind of interesting. I don't know if these are specifically the cards or something, but I mean, it seems like an interesting way of playing the game. Like it's interesting. I do like it because it's a different take with the 2-stage of gameplay, you know, because I get the Riley Rising mode, which I think that's something that's really great when you can come out with for a board game a different way of playing it, because that adds more layers to it. You know, granted, you know, sometimes a board game, it's always fun to play it the same way, but like as soon as you add another mode to it, it adds options that could be like, oh, we can play this way, and it's a completely different game then. And that's sometimes really fun to do, because it does help a lot, I think. So,
yeah, definitely.
So no, this seems like a cool one, definitely. I'd like to try the Alaska one finally first, though, before we really dive into that, truthfully speaking. But I do think it's an interesting one to check out. Definitely agree on that one. That we should. It's coming some point soon, so we can only hope to see it when it does eventually come out. I don't think they have a date for it yet. I mean, they've had like 2 like little things where they've given information about them, like the Dark Waters. Okay. Last people, the Deep One Legion to overrun their vessel. Oh God. Oh, they can have Deep One Legion overrunning your vessel. That seems pleasant.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Wow. Oh. There's a card that I think because it's like this is really weird. You could apparently, like, the ship can run aground, and then you could switch from the Ultima Thule entrance card to the wreckage of the Uma Thurma. So your ship can crash. Wow. Man. So apparently that's what you have to worry about, is like that the things get aboard and sink your ship. Or like you can have problems with Dark Waters. No, it seems like it's got a lot of really interesting hazards that are out there. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to like trying to check this one out. Alright. But before we digress too long, since we are getting on in time, let's move on to stories from the table, because it's that time of day again. So, this week, I wanted to talk about stuff at your gaming table you were never able to use effectively. So you came up with something great, like a character, or even a role-playing game, and it would have been like an awesome idea, and you never were able to use it effectively. And it just, either the character was never used because there was like 1 or 2 sessions, because the game fell apart, or it's the same thing with the game. It fell apart. I have plenty of games that fell apart. So I'll like talk about 1 or 2 of those, and you can like, well, I'll let you go first because you can talk about something.
Oh God, there's so many games that I had an interesting character concept that we started and didn't really, it died out. Especially, unfortunately, a lot of Chad games, because Chad can be a bit AD&D with games.
Well, you said AD&D, and I think it's ADHD.
Or D&D, yes, ADHD. Yeah,
ADHD with AD&D.
No, he's advanced in his D&D. Yes. He can be he can be very, I'm starting this and then dwindle off. Like, I would have loved to continue the God's superhero game.
Yo, yeah.
That one was a lot of fun, and it just kind of petered out, unfortunately. You know, I was playing Charon.
Yep.
The boatman from Greek mythology who kind of took on the modern day death persona to try to get followers again.
Yeah. So
and get powers back. And I was having a lot of fun with that one. And
I don't know why that petered out. Something happened with us being able to play it rather than Chad getting bored with it, and I don't know what happened.
I don't remember either. I just remember that was kind of disappointing. Or the one where I was the crystal dude that was mixed with a dragon.
Oh, the second version of the planes hopping game.
Yeah, that one we only had a few sessions of.
Yeah, D&D Sliders Mark II.
Yes. I really liked the idea of that character, and I didn't really get to go anywhere with it.
I believe that was the one where we were standing around reading a magic scroll in the dark.
Yes. Yeah, there's been a lot of games like that. Also, the game system I created that we've unfortunately have never gotten the chance to get back to.
Well, I mean, we got some good sessions in that one, and I think that one makes a little difference. It's sort of like we're disappointed we couldn't keep it going farther, which is definitely a little of feeling.
Well, also, I would like to get back to it so I could maybe eventually...
Finish the system?
Yeah, finish the system and maybe
again,
publish it one day.
Again, that's still, like, that's not... I think, like...
I know, but it's been over 10 years since we did anything with it.
That's accurate, unfortunately.
That's where I'm coming with that is, yes, we got to do some interesting things with it, but I haven't been able to finish it because we haven't gotten back to any of it. And I really, 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 really want to do that at some point because I think it's an interesting niche concept that could go somewhere out there in the world and people could have fun with.
Mm-hmm. I think I have two games I want to mention now that really come to mind as ones that I thought were really good ideas, but they just failed to execute in any decent way and just died.
Can I guess one that is the Valley game?
No. The Valley game, I feel like I actually got to play them each time.
Okay.
So they don't count for this one.
Okay.
I'm talking about two effectively one-session games.
Ah.
Because, like, the Valley game, yeah, they died, and I would have liked to have continued them. But I at least got to play them for a bit and express my ideas very well. You know, I got to spend some time with it. I never got to spend some time with one that ended up being a joke and one that ended up being just impossible to play. The first one, the impossible to play one, it was still the early days of my 3rd edition career. 3rd edition D&D. So I've sort of have learned what to do now because I've experienced the horrors that were Mike. And I try to run an evil campaign where it's like a council of evil. And they're getting together to, like, defeat a group of heroes or something that, you know, like, there's, like, they're doing the reverse of Lord of the Rings, of the council, you know, and except it's to defeat, like, good guys, you know. And I was going to have everybody be, like, a different monster race, and I was using some very loose adaptation rules for playing monsters because they didn't have savage species yet. I threw something together that worked okay. We, like, sort of built characters, and we started one session, but the players I had recruited, because it was some people I had not played with, and I have never played with since, you know, from the gaming club, it just didn't work out very well. I thought it would have been a very cool concept for, like, a reverse Lord of the Rings, you know, that they're doing the evil councils, like, who will go and kill these people, you know, kind of thing. And your heroes volunteer to do it.
Sounds interesting. I would have tried something like that.
It was coming along decently, and I don't think I had a bad selection of characters overall. It's just some of them, because we were just sort of, I was just trying to adapt a system, it just didn't work out really well. And, you know, it's before Savage Species, and my player selection wasn't great. And these combining factors just made it that it just bled out after we had, like, a session of trying to make characters and stuff. Kind of sucked, but it was sort of acceptable at the time, you know? Because it was going to be difficult. Because also it was like, the people I had chosen, it was like, well, I could show up like once a month. It's like, what? God. Because I think it was after SGS, too, is when I was planning for it. to like go to Mike's place and do it.
Okay.
And so I had some extra SGS people. Didn't help. So that was that one. That it just it could have been a lot better of a concept, I think, but I did like the idea of it where I was building it from. That, you know, it's like it's a threat to the evil in the world, and they have to work together to basically take down this ultimate good, you know, the hero that will defeat them all. That normally they wouldn't work together. Sort of like the dwarves, elves, humans, and stuff of Lord of the Rings. You know, they really wouldn't normally work together. They're driven together because of a mutual threat.
Right.
The other one that I loved my idea of it, but there was a stupidity to the idea, and the execution was terrible. The 1,000 Armies of Darkness.
Was I in that one?
That was Mike melting the treasury.
Oh, yeah, that was my introduction to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, why?
Because I think that was that wasn't you playing Giggles.
No, it was the first time I ever met Mike. I forget what character it was. I was creating the character when this went down.
Yes, that's right, because I had like 2 sessions. 2. The first one I had introduced to everybody. The second one you were going to be joining in on, and you were making a character while we were playing it.
Yeah.
And the idea was I made everybody be epic level, because the epic level handbook was out. And I was like, and there was also like Dragon Magazine had rules for playing like epic monsters and stuff, and how much level adjustment they would have. And they were ridiculous. Some of them really were. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make you this level. If you want to, you can be a third of the normal level adjustment, or you could be like you could fill up the blanks with levels or stuff. So like one of the players was playing a Solar. Mike was just a straight epic level wizard. There were some other characters, but who knows about them?
Yes.
Mike, he was an Oracle. Because because it was like no one was supposed to know the great evil. And then he's like, I
know the great evil.
I'm playing this Oracle. And like you read the Oracle's character, and they're supposed to be very mysterious about the information they share. This was a special like monster in Oriental Adventures, and he's like, I'm gonna tell everybody about it. No riddles, no nothing special. He just basically like, I'm the worst Oracle ever. I'm a disgrace to my race and should lose my powers. But the thing is, it still was early in my 3rd edition career. It really was overall, you know. So I didn't have like the backbone for standing up to players as much as I had, because
plus it was at Mike's house, which always made it more difficult to stand up against him.
And I never had dealt with a character like Mike before. Up until now, all the players I had were cooperative, you know. So I never had to worry about crap like this.
Yeah.
Now I had to.
Mike's gotten better over the years, just to stay.
I know, but it's sort of like at the time I was like, what do I do to handle this? I've never dealt with this. I've never dealt with a problem character like him, a problem player.
Munchkin.
A Munchkin, yeah. You know, it's sort of like, and unfortunately I think some of my Munchkinning I did since then was basically because I wanted to compete
with Mike
at certain times.
Yeah.
And it drove me Munchkin-y. So really, he's my fault that I went through a phase of being very Munchkin-y. So, yeah. We have their characters. I give them, like, a divine ability, because I think Deities and Demigods was also out. So I'm like, you know what would be really cool is that you're basically, like, blessed demigods or something without being directly demigods or something like that. So I gave them all like a power of a certain rank, and they're pretty high level. The idea was that they were going to have to fight these like 1,000 armies. That like this evil like empire was basically going to take over the rest of the world, rising up their 1,000 armies of darkness with their overlord, who was gonna like conquer I forget his actual motivation I'd come up with. It might have been like conquering the multiverse or something. I don't remember exactly. It's been so long.
Yeah.
And I'd have to find that paperwork that I wrote down for it, and that's like
It's been like almost 16 years.
and it's like 2 sessions. So where the heck am I going to have that? It's going to be in amongst all my other paperwork for like the game that I ran every Friday, because I think that was around that time. It might have just ended or might have been in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
I had like all that huge pile of paperwork that I was already dealing with Mike and stuff. So yeah, motivation gone out the window. But they basically started out this first castle that was going to be under the siege of like armies of like orcs and stuff. A couple of the armies of like one of the armies of darkness was going to be attacking here, and had some pretty elite warriors in there that would have been actually difficult for them to fight. Was the thing, the general was supposed to be like around their same CR, and they were supposed to have, or like a little higher than them, and there was supposed to be a couple other warriors around them. So like fighting the army was supposed to be a challenge still for many of them, So they solve most of the problems by Mike. The city tries to evacuate to the castle, basically, because they're under siege. Mike decides to start creating tsunamis throughout the city. Walls of water to just destroy everything. Because I think this was... Both of these were third-party spells, but I didn't have this concept of third-party at the time. They were, the Savage Lands, which was White Wolf's D20 system or campaign setting, which was cool, but it was a little unbalanced in comparison to basic D&D.
Like third party tends to be.
Not always. I think
Not
third
always,
parties
but
got
I'm saying
better at times.
In general, it tends to be a little
Unbalanced.
overbalanced. Yeah.
This is the one that gave a lot of the stuff that my Drider had in the evil game that we did together.
Yeah.
And that was the world we ended up on, with hawks that can chop off legs and tinder giants and stuff like that. And horses that eat other horses because bloodbear.
Hawks that could bite off legs of horses.
Yes. and DeLorean, the bloodbear. So it's that
Yes.
campaign setting. So the tsunamis are like destroying everything and killing lots of people. And so Chad's like, I'm going to use my wish, which I can cast like once a week or something. I think a Solar gets a wish. I'm going to wish a 9th level spell. And he decided to cast a druid spell, which does like 5d6 over geographical region.
Of fire.
No, it's a mixture. It's like fire, acid, and stuff. It's like it rains down some fire, and then some acid, and then like some hail. So it's a mixture of damage types.
Okay.
But
fire was in there because of what happened.
Well, no, it's sort of like he's like the castle was like on this like a little small hill surrounded by like rolling hills and fields, and he didn't quite realize that the castle is in the geographical region. Because
that's huge.
Because it's not a separate part of it. It's sort of that concept of like, it's in the middle of it, why wouldn't it be part of it? It's still part of the geographical region. Just because they've put castle on, or city on top of it, doesn't mean it wasn't once a plane.
Right.
It doesn't separate it out from the storm. There's not a hole in the middle of it protecting the city. So he killed everybody. Literally killed everybody. So he had to go around using his power, which was the resurrection power, to resurrect all the humans he had murdered in the town. Because most of the population he managed to kill rather than the invading army.
And then we get to the treasury.
Because it had melted in the course of the battle. Actually, no, I don't think it was directly his spell that melted it together. I think that like the castle was on fire or something. Because of like fireballs or something. And I think in the battle with like the big boss general that happened or something. Okay. So like there was an emergency escape place deep underground where a lot of the people had gone and hidden, and had traps in this one hallway, and so they activated the traps. But on the surface, basically out there, their treasury, and they had this like cool golden throne, which the city was. I think I like named the castle after the golden throne or something, that had melted into this like pile of goo because heat from burning castle. So Mike was originally like, I'm going to claim this as no, like he came up to it. It's like, so how are we getting paid? And there's no one around. So he's like, oh, I found this secret passage. I'm going to go down there. The first trap goes off. It hurts him. He keeps going. He doesn't keep looking. He keeps walking through the traps. There's like 10 traps, each of them dealing him damage. Down the hall. He gets to them, like covered in arrows, spears, cuts, burn marks, acid burns, you know, and he's like, I'm taking your and they're like, what treasury? Our city's destroyed. Like, they can escape then. They're like, our city's destroyed. He's like, I'm taking this melted pile of crap. It's mine now. I can chip out the jewels. I can melt down the gold. And they're like, but our city.
We need that to rebuild our city.
Which you destroyed more. Which you destroyed more than them. No, he was taking it. And that's where you got in with, like, seeing Mike. It was like, oh my god.
I was making my character doing exactly. I think I came in right after the battle, sat down, started creating the character, and I hear that. I'm just like,
why didn't he stop with the traps? Because I think there was a rogue character you could have waited for, or someone that could have, like, dealt with traps. But no.
But not even just that, but it's, I come in, I'm hearing, I'm taking your melted treasury after we destroyed your town. Mm-hmm. I'm like, these are the good guys?
No.
These are supposed to be the good guys?
Supposed to be. They aren't.
Like, what am I getting into?
At least Trad tried to resurrect everybody.
Yes. But still, even if you're a resurrected population and you have nobody to rebuild your civilization with, you might have been better off not being resurrected.
True.
That's kind of like, it's exactly blowing up your city and going, well, have fun living in rubble.
Yeah. Well, what? Like, this is not the first time Mike tried to, like, blow up a city? Didn't he try to blow up Tokyo?
Yes, and he's done other things in the nature of hurting the group for no particular reason. The last one I could think would be Vampire, where I'm throwing a grenade at a guy in his shop, even though I wasn't involved in anything.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
To supposedly teach him a lesson. Now, recently I could say a game that went literally one session and we're probably never going to get back to was because of Chad.
We talked about that one.
I know, a little bit. Mexican Batman.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that thing is like, that's like a pre-made adventure that I thought was really cool to play. So that is actually sort of qualifies for this. Granted, I didn't make the game, but I thought it was a really cool concept of infiltrating a town, destabilizing this guy, eventually going after him. You could try to go directly and fight your way through guards, or found some way to break into his manor or something, you know, and go after him sort of assassin style, and you can capture him rather than just kill him. It gave so many options that it was I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and I had a great character that I liked in that. And then Chad happened.
And then Mexican Batman happened, which no one suspected. No one suspected Mexican Batman, because no one ever suspects Mexican Batman.
Who I really wish I wouldn't have held back on my spell and just blew him the heck up, and we would have been able to continue the game.
Yeah, we didn't know that murdering him would have been a better idea.
Yes. Well, we had inklings at that point.
We did. He was first...
I'm going to jump down a 100-foot well in the middle of a tavern to do a costume change and then pop out of the well, and no one will know it's me.
Yeah, but there's no way out. Or
no other way into the well.
Or I'm totally going to be a noble from the country that you're going to technically trying to avoid going to war with. Because this is a great idea.
Oh.
Because this really instills trust right away.
Yeah. And I'm only going to vaguely tell you that there's going to be that I have someone who's going to help you with this, but not tell you exactly who he is or how he's going to appear, and then just randomly break through your window.
And the thing is, was it so late at night that people out on the streets didn't hear the window breaking and call for guards? And then a knife went flying out the window. Of course, unfortunately, that was now broken, killing someone
in the street. And then Chad yells, "It's the Dagger Bandit!" Which made no sense on several things. Because one, if he's a bandit, why did he just randomly kill someone and not steal anything that was on them? And two,
oh god,
we're trying to keep a low key and trying to make the guards not suspicious in town to be looking for stuff, and you just gave them a complete reason to be on guard against anything happening in the city.
It was
because now people are thinking. Now the guards think there's some random bandit who goes around throwing daggers into innocent people.
Yep. The Dagger Bandit was on the loose and was ready to murder people. They totally had to have more guards on patrolling to be ready to defeat him. You never know when the Dagger Bandit might strike and might need to be murdered.
It hurts my brain.
It was wonderful and terrible. I would never want to play it again. But
if it would have been a silly game, fine. But it wasn't supposed to be.
Oh, no. And I can't say that there are times when a game can become silly. You know, it can change to be more of like a silly-based game. And it can still be fine.
Mainly because of one person. We had another character who wasn't taking things completely seriously either, but it wasn't near to the point of Mexican Batman. He was just for some reason obsessed with candles.
He has always made ... interesting ... characters ...
I'm gonna steal these magical looking candles for my candelabra that I have for some reason. And I also have a small army of capybaras. I don't know why.
Because apparently he likes capybaras, even though they're like medium dog-sized.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. A small army, because he had like 10 or 12,
and they were pooping up the hotel room like there was no tomorrow. Which I was like, you're not getting your deposit back, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't even think an inn would allow them in because it'd be considered an infestation.
Yep.
Could you not infest my hotel with giant rodents?
Too bad.
You're not the Pied Piper.
Yeah.
There could be his next character. He could be the Pied Piper.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, there just was such craziness in that entire thing, unfortunately. And,
you know what? I think we need to get a silly game just to get that stuff out of our way for a little while.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe it's time for like a one-session silly game that we can just go and be bizarre for bizarre's sake, so people who have that itch can scratch it.
The thing is, you need a great idea for a silly game, and I just haven't had a great one for a silly game. You know, something that it's not too ridiculous, but ridiculous enough. Like, Chad's come up with some great ones, like the Bob Lucan's Gnomish Vampire. That was the entire concept of it. It was like the weakest, most pathetic vampire plaguing us.
Well, was Chad the one who also ran the one where I was the monk with wooden fists?
Yeah, and he was like the Rod of Wonder, like, thing that you can get into.
Yeah, different things we did outside of game.
Yeah.
Caused Rod of Wonder things to happen.
Which was also a very interesting concept. No, that was a fine concept. And see, but that's the thing, is he came up with that, and I'm like, meh. I don't have a great one right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying maybe that's something we should look into doing in the near future to get those silly cravings out of the way.
Possibly, though I don't know if you'll ever get that away from... James always does something. He just has a weird way of doing stuff.
Right, but it might alleviate it a little bit.
That's true. Hard to say. Well,
Plus, it could be just good fun.
Well, I think, unfortunately, since we didn't have any good gaming sage advice for this week, and I was unable to come up with anything, I think I will skip it this week since we have reached 2:30.
I will say one thing. Throw an occasional silly game at your players now and then, and it'll appease weirdness sometimes.
keep them from being too silly all the time, even if it's a one-session little thing. Yeah. Yeah, I got work to get done because I am cramming for my PAX trip, which is next week. I'm gonna see if we can have Discussing Tabletop next week. I would hand controls over to Joe. We'll discuss. Yeah, we'll discuss working on that and figuring out if that's possible. We'll play test around it with a little bit this week, but but if I'm still hanging as normal today, with my purposeful normal running my game. I have work I need to get done beforehand, so I do have to kind of call us right now. We went a little long on some stuff, so I hate to cut off our game of sage advice. But as I said, I got no great questions for this week that I was able to come up with. I've been way too busy to brainstorm too much stuff. I'm glad I'm nearly done all the scripts I need. Now just to shoot all of them and edit all of them, but the scripts are always a really hard part on getting together all those videos, and I feel good that I'm at least a good chunk done, you know? Ugh. Because I'm leaving Thursday really early in the morning. So hopefully I'll have everything, uploaded before then. So I'll hopefully start uploading the ahead of time stuff soon.
Yeah, and anything you need me to take care of, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Anyway, so I think that's it for this episode. It was a great one. We did talk about some cool topics, got some good stories in. As I said, I will keep everybody informed on Twitter if I'm going to have a episode next week. I'm unsure. We'll have to see how things go. It will, of course, be uploaded on my channel eventually. I can definitely upload various things in different ways pretty easily when I can figure it out. I think I can upload stuff from my phone if I really need to, but I might rely on Joe for some vlogs during PAX if I can put stuff together. I'll try to put some things together, maybe daily vlogs or something about what's going on or what things I go to. Get a couple video clips and just have him throw them together into one video. Something like that. I don't think I have any great background music that's royalty free. I have a little bit of music that's royalty free. I use it for my intro, but maybe I can find something that would fit with, nerdy vlogs or something about what I'm doing. I'll see. But regardless, okay. I'm probably gonna try to have one more live stream before I go. I don't know if I'm gonna have it tomorrow or Monday. It's gonna depend on what I can get done. If I can get a bunch of work done today still before my game, and then tomorrow, I might have it Sunday evening. If I have to wait till Monday when I'm chugging through stuff just to make sure I'm in a good spot for the week, I will wait till then. So we'll see. But regardless, I think that's it for today. Glad to have everybody here. Glad to have you with us. I'm hoping that we'll be here next week. Again, check out Twitter. I'll let you know. VOD of this will be up. Probably ain't gonna aim for Monday. Monday for VOD, I normally do. Anyway, I guess that's it for today. Joe?
Have a good week, and see you next time.
And until the next time, I bid you farewell. And